You are listening to a Cult Talk Network podcast.
File access granted.
Hello, all of you skeptics, believers, idealists, and all of those who question the universe. My name is Bailey.
And I'm Ty.
And welcome to this episode of Cult Talk's Conspiracy. The
first episode of Cultober.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This was, just so you guys know, we really went back and forth about airing Cult Talk's Conspiracy in Cultober. It was in the air for a hot minute. It was very...
Well, originally it was supposed to, like, we had talked about debuting it last year, way back. 2021 was going to be the debut of Cult Talk Conspiracy.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Been a long Cultober episode coming. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about this one. And we've got a very creepy cryptid to talk about who has become his own celebrity and himself. We are talking about the Mason County monster, Mothman.
Ooh. Which isn't that far from us, actually.
No, it's only, I think, like a 2 or 3 hour drive, if I'm thinking correctly. I'm about to get like the exact coordinates now. But yeah, we actually visited Point Pleasant not too long ago. I believe it was last spring. We went and saw the Mothman Museum and the statue and all kinds of different stuff. And the town of Point Pleasant has really leaned into the Mothman lore as well.
It's a good piece of their economy down there. Like, they really have capitalized and made it a part of their town and a part of what makes their town thrive. I mean, it's the best idea for any town that has these like small town legends is to really lean into it and make some money. I know I talked about this in the Roswell episode too, but that's the best thing to do. Like, if you got these legends, embrace them because they will bring you revenue. I guarantee it. Like,
it really is. It really is, though. And I big lied because Point Pleasant, West Virginia, is actually only an hour and 4 minutes from Chillicothe. So if you live in Chillicothe, Waverly, Circleville, even freaking Lancaster, go to Point Pleasant. It's like an hour and some change for you guys. Like, it's really cool. And it's a beautiful drive as well.
Oh, yeah. It's a fun little place, too. I went down there, I believe it was 2019. I think it was the last Mothman before, COVID happened. I went to the Mothman Festival, and it was me and Mike and a couple of other friends. And we went and did, like, the Mothman Festival. And then we went to Hillbilly Hot Dogs, which is, like, a big attraction down there. And it was a fun time. Like, it was a good town. I want to go back again because I know this year is the return of Mothman Fest. Which has already happened by the time this comes out.
I know. Yeah, it's great. I don't know. And we even went to the Hillbilly Hot Dog when Michael took us down to Point Pleasant because Ben and I went with a big group, and we stood in line for probably an hour for a Hillbilly Hot Dog. It totally worth it. 100% worth it. If you go up there, you will find Cult Talk Net stickers and Luna & Co. Stickers up there, just so you guys know. But it's a really cool place. It's a cool pit stop leading into Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which, boy, we actually had to postpone this recording because I got led down an entire rabbit hole because of just the land that Point Pleasant sits on. It actually goes all the way back to Revolutionary War times, which is like back in the 1770s and even like a little bit before that as well. We have some documentation.
I'm really excited to hear about that because I've always known Mothman. Never much have I really read into like the I guess its connection with actual Point Pleasant. Like, anytime you read Mothman stuff on a surface level, it's like, oh, this monster just appears one day and, doesn't leave for a while and sightings occur. Like, that's just like the base level monster sighting thing. But
it's nuts. It is.
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm really excited to hear like what you have. And like Point Pleasant, though, like they really have leaned. I mean, they have like a really nice Mothman statue, like right in the middle of their town. They have a whole museum dedicated to it, which I've never been through. I've never been to the museum. I'd like to.
Cool. It's really cool.
I really would like to go through it. Like,
it's really
that'd be a fun one.
It's really, really cool. They have like some cheesy stuff, and then they also have like the actual like handwritten accounts from the people who saw Mothman, and also from people who saw the Silver Bridge collapse as well. Little spoiler, which we'll get into that later. But
I want to like plan like a like we should honestly do this, like plan like some kind of like little cryptid road trip, because there's a lot around here. I mean, like around here, we live quite a bit from each other, but around Ohio, because I mean, you have Mothman, Point Pleasant. You have the Dober Demon, which I believe's here, right?
Yes.
You have the Loveland Frog. You have
I don't know. You guys went hunting. Everyone got to go hunting for the Loveland Frog. Like, they went out on a camping trip and told the Loveland Frog story without me. I was comfy cozy in my own bed, but I really regretted not going on the Cult Talk Net camping trip.
I didn't go to it either.
I regret.
I have a really like I've been to Loveland before. I went there for the Loveland Castle, but I don't think I don't think they've leaned into like the Loveland Frog thing. Like, I have a Loveland Frog figure that a company sent me.
Oh, cool!
Like, for free. It's called a company called Mystic and Co. They sent me like a little Loveland Frog figurine, but I don't think that really Loveland has ever capitalized on the frog. But we should definitely like try to plan some kind of like Cult Talk road trip. That'd be an interesting like vlog or something.
It would be,
because there's a lot of stuff around here. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
Very close proximity. It could be easily a weekend trip. Like, honestly.
Oh, for sure. Do you think it has something to do with like us being from Appalachia and then the TNT and nuclear power and everything all around us? Like, all these like crazy woodland creatures just like got into some nuclear power and was just like,
it definitely could. I mean, but a lot of these things have like been around, like predate that kind of stuff, right?
That's true. That is
so,
true. Well,
I don't know. It's very interesting, but yeah, but here it is. This is a great way to kick off Cultober here on our show, Cult Talk Conspiracy, with the Mothman. Because it definitely is like a spooky conspiracy to follow, and there is a lot that goes into it. Like, it's a lot more than just a monster legend. Like, there's a lot of very odd things that come with the Mothman.
Oh yeah, and there's some that we're gonna dive deep into. Others that I just touched on, because there is a very large aspect of this story that Tyler is going to be covering more in November. So we're gonna visit. We're gonna touch on it just for a second, but I'm gonna save the bulk of that for Tyler to talk about later on. So
we'll touch on it, but it might give you a little idea. You might get an idea of what November has in store. But November is gonna be a good month. But I think we're ready to unseal. This is what file 003. I've got me a nice spooky IPA in hand. I'm ready to hear all about the legend of Mothman. Are you ready, Bailey?
I am ready. Let's unseal this file. So the first time I ever heard of Mothman was when I honestly think I found out about Mothman through you guys, through the Cult Talk Net guys, because it was very recent.
Really?
Yes.
Is that long? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was within the past 5 years. We'll give it that. It was within the past 5.
What did you do as like a kid? It's like every time we like talk about anything, it's like you just realize that even with like movies, there's like movies that like have been out for decades that are like classics. You're like, never seen it. Like, what did you do before you met any of us?
I was actually really big into like fashion and like a really big girly girl. Like, I know a lot of designers. I know a lot of different like actress and like gossipy lore. Like, I can tell you how Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt met. I could tell you that. I could tell you anything you want to know about the royal family, which R.I.P. the Queen of England died today.
Oh, yeah, on the date of recording.
On the day of this recording. I'm going to be wearing black.
Passed away.
I'm going to be wearing black for the next 7 days in the morning. Chateau champagne to her memory. Even though, I have other opinions about the monarch, but that's for a different show. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff I was into as a kid. I was like this little granny old lady kid, and then I guess when I became an adult was when I decided to get cool. So I read a lot of like Goosebumps books and
see, that's a good thing. I love Goosebumps.
Disney. I was a huge Disney kid. I watched a lot of Disney, but yeah, all the creepy cryptids and whatnot. By the time I like hit a teenager, like my dad had me on the right path. He had me watching the horror movies, like into the lore and stuff like that. And then my mom got a hold of me and it was like, no, we're gonna put you in pageants. Pageants was my idea, not hers, by the way. Don't blame my mama. So that was how that happened. And then I met Ben and we got all back into that. So now here we are. But Mothman. So yeah. That was I got introduced to him by you guys, and now I'm obsessed. How did you hear about him?
I honestly like that's another thing. Like it's really hard for me to like remember when these things came into my life because like I was always just like a spooky kid. Like I just liked horror. I always knew about monsters and aliens. Like that was just me growing up. Like I don't really know where it came from. Because I talk about it all the time. Like my dad and I watched a lot of like UFO documentaries and unsolved mysteries and the X-Files. But my dad really isn't even into all that kind of stuff. You know, he's not into like monsters and all this or horror, especially, you know, the kind of horror I'm into, which is, you know, a majority of it's garbage. But I don't know where that stuff came from, but I don't really know where I got my taste in things. Like I just was always interested in monsters and the unknown and mysteries and garbage horror movies. And I don't know where it all came from though, but I have known about Mothman. I want to say like my whole life. Like it's one of those things where like it's just a thing that's been a part of my life ever since I can remember. Is I knew about the Mothman.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that like being from this area kind of helped with that too?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I was always out in the woods and stuff like that. I had like a big fear of the woods for a while. I remember like just because of like all the unknown stuff I was into at the time. So like I remember I was like really afraid of the woods for a long while. Mm-hmm. But like. I don't know. Just I don't know where it came from, honestly. Because I don't remember anyone I ever was around growing up that was ever into this kind of stuff. It's just one of those things I fell into somehow.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So to begin the story of Mothman, I really got invested with the land that Point Pleasant sits on. Because like I said, it does go back to the American Revolutionary War time period. So we're going to start our story in the 1770s. So we're going all the way back. So this was when American settlers began to move to the west off of the 13 colonies. And at this time, there were 7 nations of Native Americans that surrounded this land. And that was that of the Shawnee, Delaware, forgive me, Wyandotte. I'm sorry, the Mingo, Miami, Ottawa, and the Illinois. And just so you guys know, there was also a lot of Shawnee in Chillicothe, Ohio as well, which is really cool because like that hit a little bit of like my town history and whatnot. So that was cool to find out.
Kind of incorporate that into the story of a little connection to it.
A little connection that, you know, hey, we're out here. So the Shawnee was actually the most powerful, which was led by Chief Cornstalk. And as the settlers began to reach the Ohio valleys, because they were coming in from where the 13 colonies were. So they're starting to reach these Ohio valleys and the Ohio River and all that. So Chief Cornstalk prepared to defend his land, and they would be actually no match for the muskets that their enemies were carrying, unfortunately, because you have to remember, unfortunately, the Native Americans were vastly outweaponed by the American settlers and even that of the British at that time as well. So the colonists in the battle between the Shawnee for that land in Ohio would actually lose 140 men, while the Native Americans would double that loss. So they lost.
Wow, so it was a pretty bloody.
It was a bloody
encounter.
It was a bloodbath. So at this point, the tribes would all retreat back to Ohio, while a fort was constructed at the Kanawha and Ohio rivers. So Cornstalk would later make peace with the colonists that he once fought against during this time.
Wow, how long did it take?
It took a few years. It did take a few years. I'm not going to say it was like tomorrow, but
yeah, because you're talking like a few hundred people have died at this point, right?
Oh yeah,
like 300-400 people.
Yeah, from multiple tribes too. So it wasn't like the Shawnee was the only one that was affected. We're still talking about the Delaware, the Mingo, the Miami, the one that I'm not going to try to pronounce again. And Cornstalk was very adamant that he just wanted peace. He did not want a war with these people. He knew that they were there to stay. He would much rather befriend them than fight them, is pretty much what the story gave off. So Cornstalk was actually a very feared leader. He was a very feared warrior. He was a very gifted fighter, and he was quoted as being a military genius of this time. It was actually said that when the settlers adopted his techniques, they were able to defeat the British against being outnumbered and outgunned, which is huge. So these settlers were led by General Andrew Lewis and some Virginia frontiersmen. And this would be known as the Battle of Point Pleasant, because guess what? The British are coming again. So the British were coming again, and the British actually got a little tactical because they decided they were going to start recruiting and start kind of enticing Native Americans to fight against these American settlers, because they're like, hey, they're taking your land. You know, they're fighting you guys out of here. Join our side. We'll give you guys your land back. We'll be good to you. You know, I don't know what promises they made, but either way, they were enticing them. This would be known as the 1774 Battle of Point Pleasant later on. And this is important because what Chief Cornstalk did was so admirable on his part, because he actually went to the general and he said, hey, just so you know, the British are recruiting Native Americans. I'm coming to you, letting you know what is going on. But if my people want to fight, I am not going to stop them. If the other tribes want to fight, I am not going to stop them. I couldn't find, and if he did, let us know in the comments here. But I couldn't find if he said he would fight or not. But I would imagine he was just saying, if my people want to fight, I'm not going to stop them.
Right. Yeah. So you just give them kind of fair warning that there's about to be another force involved in this.
Right. And he went there with the chief of the Delaware tribe as well. So it's him, the chief of the Delaware tribe, and I believe they also had a few other tribesmen with them for protection and all that. So at this point, the settlers decide that they are going to take the chiefs and their tribesmen as hostages. And so while they decided to take them as hostages, because the chiefs were saying, you know, hey, if they're going to fight, we're not going to stop them. So the settlers are like, well, if you're not going to stop them, then I'm just going to take you. I don't understand the logic.
So they just kidnapped them?
They just kidnapped him. Yeah, they just took him at gunpoint, I would imagine, and made him hostages. I don't understand the logic, but okay.
Yeah, sure.
So while they were kept as hostages, they were actually treated really well. So, and it was even said that Chief Cornstalk actually helped the settlers draw maps and plots of the Ohio River and Valley. So he was helping to, kind of navigate and really being a friend to them as well. At some point during their, unwilling stay with the settlers, which it was also kind of rumored that maybe Chief Cornstalk had decided to voluntarily be captured because he did not want to fight and he knew that was kind of coming. I don't know how much truth there is to that.
Yeah, that's kind of I don't know, that's kind of odd.
Because, the way that it was told in the story was that he didn't want to make the decision to fight, or he didn't want to have to fight. So he was like, capture me, basically, which makes no sense.
It doesn't make too much sense.
And I get it. These records are from the 1770s, the 1700s. They're not going to be pristine. They're not going to be all that great. But even common sense has to play into decision-making factors. And
yeah. Because I don't really know where the sense lies in getting yourself captured, removing your ability to command your people.
Right.
That just seems.
Yeah, because who's commanding his people at this point?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of an odd way. I don't know. Maybe it was true. Maybe it was part of some master plan. I don't know. It just, to me, doesn't make much sense.
I don't know.
Who am I, though?
I don't know. I questioned that one a little bit when I saw it, and I was like, So at some point during their involuntary stay, there are two settlers that go out and decide that they are going to go deer hunting, and the two settlers are ambushed by two Native Americans. One Native American does end up escaping, while the other is killed. And the settlers blamed the Native Americans they had held hostage in their camp for this. No word on if the settlers had passed from. I couldn't get like a clear definition on if one of the settlers had passed away. It seems like both of them had survived, and they were just very upset that they had been attacked. So the men blamed the chiefs, both of the Delaware and Chief Cornstalk and the Native Americans that they had with them for this tragedy. While they had nothing to do with it, they blamed them for being ambushed. And the men barged into where Chief Cornstalk and the other tribesmen were being held and shot them all to death.
Wow.
Chief Cornstalk would actually be shot 8 times. And before he died, he laid a curse upon his killers. And the curse reads, I was the borderman's friend. Many times I have saved him and his people from harm. I have never warred with you, but only to protect our wigwams and lands. I refuse to join your pale-faced enemies with the redcoats. I came to the fort as your friend, and you murder me. You have murdered my son by my side. For this, may the curse of the Great Spirit rest upon this land. May it be blighted by nature. May it even be blighted on its hopes. May the strength of its people be paralyzed by the stain of our blood.
Wow.
And then
wow, that's super interesting and scary. Like that's wild.
That was terrifying.
Especially knowing now like what happens later on down the road in Point Pleasant history. I mean that's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, and Chief Cornstalk dies, leaving this as his final words, which is heartbreaking because his son was with him. His son did come to the fort, and trying to visit his father and make sure like, hey, is my dad okay? And then they took him into captivity and was like, you're now kidnapped. So, and like they killed his son like right before them, and
that is wild.
It's so sad. And he's right. I came to you. He says, I came to you as my friend. I came to warn you, and you killed me. And it's so sad. So the bodies of the other tribesmen and the chief of the Delaware tribe were taken into the Kanawha River, while Chief Cornstalk would actually be buried near the front of Point Pleasant, which was overlooking the Kanawha and Ohio rivers.
Now, is that like an attraction, or not an attraction, but is that like a thing you can visit? I guess in Point Pleasant?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no, because his body was actually moved 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Many reasons. So in 1794, the town of Point Pleasant was officially established, and nearly 50 years later, after Cornstalk's death, the bones would be moved off the grounds so that they could be put on the grounds of the Mason County Courthouse. And then in 1899, a monument went up in his memory. And then they were then moved once again in the 1950s. And at this point, his remains, and I thought this was cool because they actually accounted for it. His remains assumed of 3 teeth and 15 bones, which I thought was really funny that they put that in there.
That's all that was left?
That's all that's left of him. 3 teeth
because
and 15
they moved him
bones.
around so much? Breaking shit and
possibly
losing stuff while he was moving?
They lost his tibia.
Yeah, that is wild.
But I think it's probably because when they dug him up the first time, they may not have found all of his remains, or there's also animals that can get to him if it's not buried close enough. There's like water accretion and all of that. So like there's many different reasons why.
So they kind of like desecrated this guy's body.
They really did.
The years. Like,
they really did. Do these people not understand? And I don't know if this counts, but like you don't mess with Indian burial grounds. Like,
yeah,
I don't.
That's horror movie 101.
That's what Pet Cemetery taught us.
Poltergeist. Yeah, you don't mess with this.
You don't do this.
No.
So
Mothman in your hands.
I know that's how this happened. This is where you went wrong, guys.
Well, there was a lot of things.
There's a lot, but this is where it starts.
Killing him around the first time is probably what did it. But I'm sure moving his body around and losing his bones probably.
I know they're just
help.
I know it's terrible. So in the 1950s, the remains were actually placed in an aluminum box and were re-entered into the Tuendiwi Park. Which was actually moved next to the graves of the Virginia frontiersmen, which Cornstalk once fought and befriended. So I'm sorry, he was only moved twice. Once from his original spot in front of the Mason County Courthouse to now where he is in the Tuendiwi the park. The park. I'm very sorry. Which is now where he is now. And there is a 12-foot monument that you can go to that was put up in his honor. And it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful statue. Also in Point Pleasant, beside the Ohio River, right where the banks are, there's a bunch of silver statues that are there as well. And one of them is of Chief Cornstalk, which is really cool. If you haven't seen it and you're going there, I highly suggest going and looking at it because it's really cool and it's got beautiful artwork around it.
I'm very interested. Like that just sounds like a cool thing to see, but I think the whole moving the guy's body around, losing that shit, kind of.
I just don't understand.
Yeah, it kind of taints the experience thing when you realize you're going to a monument made up of some teeth and a couple bones.
In an aluminum box. They're
box.
like, we're not going to lose them anymore. Here you go. Aluminum box for
Lock
you.
that shit. They put it in Ziplocs. I don't know. Do something.
That's awful. So there is another monument in Point Pleasant that is actually dedicated to the men who won the battle, the 1774 Battle of Point Pleasant. These are also the same men that killed Chief Cornstalk as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So we forget about that little
think
part.
Point Pleasant was just asking for it at this point. I mean, I think they were just kind of asking to be haunted by some sort of apparition.
I would have at least made Cornstalk's monument bigger. This thing is an 80-foot or 86-foot tall statue. And I mean, It's not even a statue, it's a monument. It's like a it's like one of those things that come all the way up to a point. It's like a tower with a point on top of it. And then
talk about like the Washington Monument kind of thing.
Yeah. Very similar. Yeah, very similar to that. So the monument for that actually was supposed to go up in July of 1909. So just to give some context first, Cornstalk's monument did go up first. All of his stuff did go up first.
Well, at least there's that.
Yeah. They paid homage to the real hero. In July of 1909 was when the monument for the men who won the 1774 Battle of Point Pleasant was supposed to go up, but it was actually delayed when lightning struck and damaged the crane that would put the monument into place in the ground. So it took a month to fix the crane, and then they finally got to put it up in August of that year. But that would not be the last time that this monument would be struck, because in 1921, and it was said that this was a clear night that this happened, and it was very strange that this had happened. The monument was struck again. This time, the actual monument was struck, not an accessory or a piece of equipment to it. But this would damage the monument minorly. It was fixed later on, but it did have like some cracks in the material that it was made in, and it was pretty bad. It was bad for what it did do and what it could have done. So I kind of feel like that was like a little warning strike.
Yeah.
Like, hey, just so you know, I know about this shit. He was just trying to take a few feet off.
There's a lot of bad omens. It's like there's a lot of bad omens around this shit. Like,
buckle up! It keeps going.
Hell, whoa.
So a little bit before that, in 1907, one of the worst coal mine disasters in America's history would actually happen. It happened on December 6th. Keep in mind that a lot of this stuff happens in December, by the way. And this would actually end up killing 310 miners in total. It was the worst disaster in America's history, or the worst coal mine disaster in America's history. In 1944, 100 people were killed by a tornado that hit the area. And Point Pleasant is actually in a valley. It's actually in a triangle-shaped valley, which is another really weird thing, too, because there's a bunch of stuff that happens around the Bermuda Triangle as well. And there's also a lot of speculation that things happen there because it's shaped like a triangle.
Okay.
There's a bunch of stuff.
There's also, you ever heard of the Bridgewater Triangle?
No.
That's a pretty wild one. That's out, I think, around New York.
Ooh.
A lot of stuff out there. A lot of UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, you name it. The hotbed. But yeah, there's something with the triangles.
I don't know. I'll have to look more into triangles and whatnot, because I'm really into numerology, but I don't know, because like you think of the pyramids and like this is a little bit of the geometry I know, is like the pyramid, the energy is supposed to go upward toward the top of the triangle going out into the atmosphere. So I kind of wonder what would be considered the top of those geographical triangles. That would
be like the center. I mean, the center would be the point. But
interesting.
Yeah.
And then the town was also subject to 2 floods that destroyed the town. There was also an entire block of the town that burned down in Point Pleasant. Like an entire, like think of like in Chillicothe, like if Paint Street, like a block on Paint Street had just burned down. That's basically what happened. And there were 2 plane crashes. And one of them, which I don't know if you can attribute to Point Pleasant, but it happened. The plane actually crashed an hour away from Point Pleasant. And that was the one that carried the Marshall University football players.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a lot.
Now do you see why I had to delay the recording?
Yeah. That's a lot of just bad omens around this place. It's a bad area to be in.
Just so much. Are you
we
sure
haven't
you
got
still
to
want to go?
Mothman yet.
We haven't even gotten there yet. No.
Yeah.
So that's the city we're playing in. All right. Now we're going to get into more recent times, starting in 1942. Again, we're back in the Cold War era. Don't think I have a spiel, or don't think I have a shtick. This is actually like a little bit of a coincidence that we're backing into both the Cold War eras here. I'm really not that organized. So the TNT area, which is very well known in Point Pleasant, it's actually used to be a World War II ammunition factory, which was in business from 1942 to 1945. It was known as the West Virginia Ordnance Works, and it employed about 3,500 workers and manufactured over 500,000 pounds of TNT and ammunition every day. So after World War II, the factory very soon closed, which left about 8,000 acres to be repurposed, which would actually be repurposed into the McClintock Wildlife Management Area later on in life, but we will get there. Because there's some stuff we got to deal with here, because some of you have probably already started thinking, well, how do you turn it from a TNT area into a wildlife area without there being any pollution? The quick answer is you don't. What's really interesting about the TNT area here, and I've actually seen these and been inside these, and it's really creepy, is there are these giant, what I've called cement igloos, and they're these giant dome-shaped bunkers where they would store all of the explosives and ammunition, and they were built above ground. However, they are covered with a layer of earth so that they could not be detected from the air. And they're scattered all over this area. I think we only walked as far as probably seeing like 6 to 8 of them.
Okay.
But I don't know how many are actually there. I want to say there's more.
Yeah, I remember seeing like pictures and stuff of those, and they're pretty cool, like the domes, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you go in there and like it's like you can hear the person across the room clearly. It's really weird the way that acoustics and domes work. It's really interesting. But like you go into these domes and most of them are empty. Some of them have like some debris and whatnot in them. There's definitely graffiti all over. Like you go in there, some of them have Mothman graffiti, but it's a creepy place to be in. And they're just left open, by the way. You can go in there.
Nice.
You'll probably have to fight through some like wild bush or something like that, but it's open. You go in there at your own risk. I will say that, but it's open. And actually,
what do you mean by that? Is there like
if you
hazards?
If you get radiation, that's on you, bruh.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
We actually, I don't know if this is legal or not. If it's not, I don't know. I don't care. I
think a lot of people go to those things. So.
Yeah. We took a what looks like a core sample out of one. Like it was in an old mason jar and has some writing from like I think I'd have to look at the year. I think it was 1947.
Year Roswell.
The year of Roswell, yeah. And it's really cool. We've never opened it. I'll probably never open it now, knowing what I know. But it was cool. It was my little souvenir from the bunker. So a lot of people had a lot of different suspicions that when the TNT factory closed or the ammunition factory closed, that the land was not totally safe. Like people wondered if they really got all of the TNT elements out of that area. And making TNT is a really big ordeal. There's a lot of chemical compounds that go into it, a lot of explosives, a lot of radiation. I think radiation. A lot of people were very skeptical, and they should have been, because it would later be revealed that the TNT area was badly polluted with ingredients that made up the explosives, and they were being dumped into the ponds in the surrounding areas there. So you got 8,000 acres, and almost every pond you see is getting dumped with these TNT ingredients and explosive ingredients and whatnot.
Just all over the place.
All over the place. So
insanity.
It was nuts. So then in the 1970s, it was then considered an environmental disaster, and the EPA initiated the EPA Super Fund was initiated. And for those who don't know, the EPA Super Fund is basically the government's hold on money for when environmental disasters happen. So it was probably brought out when Katrina happened. It's been brought out for like huge cleanups, but that is what some of taxpayer money goes toward is some of the super fund, or at least that's where we hope it goes towards. So the cleanup was initiated, and then in the 1990, the power plant building was officially demolished as it was seen as a hazard because people were breaking in. There was still some not TNT materials, but like tools and some radiation, some things that had radiation on it that were still there. So West Virginia decided, you know what, we're done. We're tearing it down, which is fine. But the bunkers still remained. And they remained because we've been in them. So we didn't see the last of explosives when the EPA cleanup happened. Because in 2010, one of the bunkers did explode after 20,000 pounds of unstable materials were discovered.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much damage did that cause?
A lot. The entire bunker was gone. It was a lot. It was a lot of money that the state had to pay out and, go back in and clean up and then go through and make sure there's no radiation left over, go back and make sure there's no other materials found there. So that's another reason why you go into these bunkers at your own risk. Like they say they cleaned it. They say they did.
You never know.
It's like when you go to the hotel, like, yeah, they're supposed to clean, but do they clean? Do they really clean?
I'm surprised you found like stuff still in it. So there's like still things in them. Like that's what shocks me.
It's a rabbit hole, man. Listen, okay, so what I really wanted to focus on with this was how Mothman kind of came to be, because if you just look up Mothman, you're gonna get thrown in 18 different directions. So there's a lot that you can find, but this I really wanted to focus on like the origin story, not only of Point Pleasant, but how we got to Mothman, which I'm very excited because we're here.
We're at Mothman.
We're at Mothman now. So on November 16th, 1967, two young couples, the Millettes and the Scarberry, were taking a drive in the TNT area late one night. It was about 11:30 at this point. And the two young men and their respected wives said that they encountered a man-sized bird-like creature in the TNT area around midnight that night. And both the men described it as being 6 to 7 foot tall, a wingspan of 10 foot, and glowing large red eyes. Mr. Millette would go on to say that it was like a man with wings. It wasn't anything like you'd see on TV or even a monster movie. The couples spotted the creature near the old power plant because this was before it had been demolished. So the couples were actually chased out of the TNT area. The creature would fly above and behind their car, even at one point getting in front of it. And they were going extremely fast at this point. It was said that the creature would get up to 100 miles per hour, though it is unclear because you see things from like 60 to 100 miles per hour. So anywhere between 60 to 100 miles per hour is how fast this thing was going. And they were able to determine this by how fast they were driving the car. Mr. Rattel said he was getting out of there. He was not, he was not fooling around. And Mr. Scarberry said the exact same thing. So the creature had actually stopped following them when they approached the National Guard's armory on Route 62, which was nearby. But Mattel stated that when they went downtown and they turned around, the creature seemed to be waiting for them, which at that point, I'm looking at them like, why did you go back?
So wait, they went back? Like they went back to like check and see if it was still there?
Yeah, they like drove, they got downtown, they got past the National Guard armory on Route 66. They got downtown, decided to do a little loop around, and then went back. And it was like the thing was waiting for them on Route 62. Which,
interesting.
Again,
I guess it'd be like curiosity. Like, wait, did we really see that? Well, let's go back and see if it's still. I don't know.
Well, they did tell reporters, because they actually reported all this to the Point Pleasant Register the next day. And they did tell reporters that they were going to go back and look for it. So maybe they already had it in their head, like, I got to know what this thing is. Like, no one's going to believe me. And if I had seen something that strange, I'd probably be like, go back.
Yeah.
I got to see it again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, because you want to, I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's you don't know really how you'd react to it. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause it's so fantastical and so out there. Like, how would you react if you saw this thing? I don't know. Like, you think you would react in a logical manner, but you don't know. You've just seen something that completely blows your mind.
Yeah.
Who knows what track of thought you're in?
Oh my God. I would have no idea. I really don't, because I've only ever been in that frame of mind where it's like, what the hell is happening one time, and it was when Ben proposed to me. I'm not kidding. It took 10 minutes for him to like convince me he was proposing. But that's the only time I've ever been in that frame of mind to where like I just can't believe what's happening. So to put it in a scale where you're seeing something that you do not know what it is, you have never seen anything like this before, you've probably got so many questions going through your brain, and I could understand that. I could actually understand wanting to go back and take a second look. Also, I couldn't understand that because I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat and would like to be home safe with my dog. So I don't know. So both men did remark that this creature did not want to be in the light because it seemed like it would be avoiding the light with the headlights. I mean, it would be avoiding the headlights. And they said that when the light did catch it, its eyes would just glow red, which was the only markable characteristics on this thing, other than the large wingspan, I should say. I guess, well, no, the eyes were the only markable characteristics on its face. The body
I know like the eyes are like always the big standout thing of it, besides a flying creature and all.
Yeah.
The one of the major things is that the glowing red eyes. But I never really hear anything about the face itself. Like I know like in most depictions and everything, it's kind of just up for interpretation, but everyone knows the big red eyes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because most of the time you just see drawings of this figure like it looks like a man with kind of no neck, just a head and shoulders with big wings, and then you just see like the big red eyes, like to this day. So all four passengers in the car, Mr. Millette, Mr. Scarberry, and their wives all attested that none of them were under the influence of alcohol. All four did retell the story in exact detail. They all recanted the same story, which is amazing. Because that to me is like, I know it's true when that happens, when multiple people can tell me the same story word for word. And then even years later, because they did talk about this years later even, and the story did not change. that to me is like, okay, that's true. Or at least that's true to them.
Right.
So unbeknownst to them, 3 days prior, 2 gravediggers actually saw a large winged, also humanoid creature flying overhead. And it actually got pretty low to them to where they could make out the humanoid figure with wings and the large glowing eyes. So they also matched that same description. And they didn't know about this. The gravediggers had not come out yet. It wasn't until the Millettes and the Scarsberries came out and told their story.
So post that, so more people started to come out and like, oh, we've seen this thing as well.
Yes.
Like, since someone kind of initiated the reporting.
Yes, yeah. And even Mr. Scarsberry even told the Point Pleasant Register that if I had seen it while by myself, I wouldn't have said anything. But there were 4 of us who saw it. How do you discount that? How do you get that out of your brain where you're like, well, I can tell myself it's anything, but how do I tell, my wife that it's something different when she believes what it is? Or, how do I convince her when I can't convince myself is what I'm trying to get at. So over the next year, the Mason County monster would be seen by so many people to the point where an Ohio editor would actually get a hold of the story, and through the inspiration of the widely popular comic book and television series Batman, Mothman was then born. So he took his inspiration off of Batman and made it a Mothman because creativity, because it was like avoiding the light and had it's funny.
Yeah, so we really got the Mothman from. I mean, it's just a flying creature. Where'd you get the moth? That makes sense. There we know. That's how Mothman got its name. I guess I've never really questioned why it was called Mothman. That does make sense. There's nothing inherently moth about it other than doesn't like the light, I guess.
Yeah. No, it was because of Batman. It was because of how popular Batman was, and I tried very hard to find his name. I could not find it. And
well, if you know, let us know.
If you know, let us know. That's always the thing. There's a lot in this story, okay? There's a lot. And then in the old Mountains Dump, that's the name of the place. It is the name of the place. I looked it up. There was a woman called Marcella Bennett. And she was actually visiting her friend in the old Mountains Dump. And she was leaving with her infant daughter. And as they were leaving, it was nighttime. As they were leaving, she's holding her baby, trying to get into the car. She looks up and sees a tall, dark creature with glowing red eyes standing next to her car. And in her shock, she drops her baby and is like, what the hell? And as soon as she's like, oh hell no, she picks her baby back up very quickly and then runs back into the house. And her friend both stated that this creature was looking through the window, or peeking through the windows, I should say. And they did call the police. And when the police came, they could find no evidence of anyone or anything being there. And she also stated that in the nights to follow, she would see this creature again and again.
Wow, so it's kind of like haunting her.
Yeah, it followed her to her house because she was visiting her friend. Oh
wow, that's terrifying. So she saw it. That's terrible. That's some scary stuff.
That'd freak me out.
Would follow you back. Yeah, it would freak you out for sure.
That would scare the hell out of me. Another sighting was by Newell Partridge, who claims to have seen the creature while in a nearby field to his home. So when Partridge shined a light on the creature, he noted the glowing red eyes, which looked right back at him. And there was also, during this time, there was a lot of reports of animals acting very strange, getting very aggressive for no reason. And not aggressive toward their owners, but aggressive at the wind, basically. Because you know how your dog gets sometimes where it's they'll hear a noise and start barking and you're like, right. I don't know what you're barking at, but okay. It's kind of how these dogs were acting, but defensively. Mr. Partridge had a German Shepherd who actually ran after the creature, but would never return to his owner after going after this creature.
No.
It was so sad. That's the saddest. That's one of the saddest tragedies of this.
The dog.
It got the dog.
The dog died.
I know, me too.
It's the worst.
I hate it. So over 100 sightings of Mothman would be reported. And this caused many theories and many reports. A lot of people attributed it to mass hysteria because it was like, oh, you saw Mothman? I saw Mothman too. Like it was a lot. And some people, you know how your eyes will play tricks on you sometimes, or when you're scared and you hear noises in the dark, you'll start convincing yourself it's something else. So
Yeah.
a lot of people attributed it to mass hysteria, and a lot of people still do attribute it to mass hysteria as well.
I think I can see it. I mean, I'm not saying these people were suffering mass hysteria, but I get that idea, the concept of mass hysteria.
Oh yeah, it's an easy one. It's like when someone itches around you and they start talking about something itchy, you start itching.
I feel like though in this instance though, you're in a small town where, and you know, we both grew up in small towns. You know how things are. I feel like, you know, just because someone else sees a monster, you don't want to come out and say you saw a monster. Then you're just a crazy person who saw a monster. Like, I don't know. It seems like there's more to it to come out and just say you saw something if you didn't. So you're going to face the, you know, the judging eye of the little town you're from. But maybe people wanted attention. I don't know. Maybe they weren't getting enough attention in Point Pleasant.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they were like, Mothman, that's a cool, monsters are cool. No more tragedies? Yeah. Okay, we're going to have a cool monster. We're going to be the monster town. Okay, that's not how that went, Point Pleasant.
Yeah, they made some money off of it.
They did, actually. They've made a lot of money. Other people thought that it was actually a sandtail crane.
I've heard that one a lot.
That is the most popular. Well, I think maybe not the most popular, definitely one of the most well heard, I guess, debunks of Mothman.
Yeah, I've even seen like the videos, like the people who have like proposed this. I mean, it in a way, I mean, it's a little bit of a stretch, but it is kind of convincing. But it's like, what's because then that bird's not indigenous to Point Pleasant, is it? It's like
not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. It was at the time. It was.
Okay.
It was being seen around the area at that time. And the biggest thing was that it has like that red head, like the red forehead and eyes that are there, because it goes kind of like an eye mask all the way across the top of its head, and it has a wingspan of about 6.5 feet. So it's not the 10-foot wingspan, but it is a very, very large, and it's also very tall as well. I saw where it said like 3 meters, so 2 meters is 2 meters is about 6.5, so 3 meters would probably be 7.5. I don't know. Someone tell us in the comments. A lot of other people thought that it was like kids playing pranks, which, I mean, kids play pranks all the time, but I think at some point after 100 people have seen it, you got to be like, I'm done. I'm really, really done. So yeah, we really just don't know. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot for a few kids to, I mean, I get it. Senior pranks can be pretty baller. But I mean, no, I don't buy that one.
There wasn't much to do in Point Pleasant. Everyone was wanting attention, and
there is that. I mean, I mean, I did grow up.
It seems like a pretty elaborate prank.
It is. It's too much, too elaborate, way too elaborate. Some people thought Mothman was an alien.
I've heard that one. That one's an interesting one.
Oh, I did forget one more. That was before we get into Mothman possibly being an alien, because that's going to lead us down to a different rabbit hole. I almost forgot about our barred owl. Some people also thought that Mothman could possibly be a barred owl. They also have very large wingspans, and they have very large eyes that, when reflected in the light, do reflect red as well.
Okay.
This, I believe a lot less, because everyone tells me that everything is an owl. And I get tired of hearing it's just an owl. So that's where that part's coming from. Also, it's just, I'm looking at it right now, and it does have very, very large eyes that reflect red. However, they don't look as big as the Mothman eyes, because like the Mothman eyes are like, honestly, if you're looking at it like a 6 to 7 foot tall creature, they're probably about 6 inches down its face, is always what I want to assume. And these are like 2 or 3 inch diameters. I just don't see that one. But Mothman could possibly be an ET. So during this time, also in the late 1960s, there were a lot of lights being seen in the sky. There was a lot of UFO reports happening, not just in West Virginia, but also all around the country. because after this, Roswell had kicked off, and a lot of people were now starting to feel a little bit more comfortable coming out about seeing strange lights in the sky. So there was all of that going on. But the biggest thing that led into Mothman possibly being an alien was the strange appearance of what is called the Men in Black started approaching people to stay quiet and downplay the creature. We're gonna say one quote, and then we're gonna move on.
We'll say this for a different episode.
We're saving this for later, so we're just gonna touch on it and then back up. So, but Linda,
wet your whistle with.
Yes, get you a little thirsty. So Linda Scarberry, who was actually the wife of Mr. Scarberry, who was in the car when they were chased out of the TNT area by the Mothman, she actually said in an interview that the Men in Black wore black suits, black hats, and sunglasses, and drove black cars. She said she believed them to be Cadillacs. They looked human, but their skin was somewhat transparent. You could see the veins in their hands clearly, and their fingers were longer than normal person's fingers, which I found very strange because if you'll recall from the Roswell episode, they did state that the aliens' fingers were quite longer than humans' fingers. Probably
long fingers.
That's
a key alien characteristic. Long fingers.
Yeah. If you meet someone with I have long fingers.
Might have some alien DNA.
I mean, that's fine. I want to know more about my people. So and
23 and me.
Yeah.
You see what comes back as
unconclusive. So the biggest one is that Mothman is some sort of omen. Most of the time, a bad omen. And what we're going to get into next is the biggest telling of Mothman being a bad omen. And this happened in 1967. In December of 1967, to be specific. Okay. This is when we get into the Silver Bridge. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about the construction of the Silver Bridge. So the Silver Bridge itself it went across the Ohio River, connecting Ohio and West Virginia. It was a 2-lane, 1,760-foot I-bar suspension bridge, which opened on Memorial Day of 1928. It was built by the Gallia County, Ohio River Bridge Company and subcontracted by the U.S. Steel's American Bridge Company. So the original design for the bridge actually called for conventional wire cables. However, the I-bar chain design was an alternative and actually came at a lower cost as well. Okay. So they decided not to go with a conventional design, but rather this I-bar design. And then in June of 1929, the Engineering News Record actually described the bridge as the first type in the U.S. However, the Silver Bridge does have a twin sister called the Harem High Carpenter Bridge, which was 75 miles north in St. Mary's, West Virginia. Same engineer, same contractor, same drawings, all of it. So how was this bridge supported? Because this was very important. The bridge was built and supported by each chain link consisting of a pair of bone-shaped 2 by 12-inch bars. That would vary between 44 and 55 feet long, which was determined by their position on the bridge, which is important because if there's a spot on the bridge that probably isn't going to have a whole lot of weight and pressure, there probably doesn't need to be a bar there where it could be better suited somewhere else. Which is fine. That you see that all the time, even in modern construction of anything. You put shit where it's going to need to have support to it.
Right. That's just how you build things.
Yeah, I'm learning.
Who would have thought?
I know, right? All the contractors that listen to the show are like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Who does she think she's talking to?
Shocking revelation. You put.
I have discovered science. Anyway, that along with the 11-inch diameter pins that would connect the links through the eyes at the end of the bars, the chains would form into an upper cord, which would mirror a Warren-type stifling truss bridge, which I actually looked up. That's more of the bridges we see now with the triangle, the 2 triangle shapes on the sides of it. And then in 7 panels of each side span, and then 12 panels in the center. So a big thing with this is you could not adjust the chains once they were built. Once they were put into the eyes, it was a done deal. And you couldn't really adequately inspect the bridge either. And this one was a harder one to inspect because unlike the conventional wires, the eye bars were a lot harder to kind of determine how they were aging and how awful or how well they were adapting to their age. But nevertheless, in 1965, there was an inspection done, and there were multiple inspections done prior to this point. However, the 1965 ones are the important ones because during that inspection, it was actually suggested to the private owner at this time that a $30,000 worth of repairs be made, which no word if they were completed, no word on if any of their repairs were completed. So we're just going to leave that there. And then another...
And what year was this?
That was in 1965, so 2 years. 2 years prior to 67.
$30,000?
$30,000 worth of repairs.
Wow.
Which is a lot. That would be a lot today. And not to mention, like, you would have to shut the bridge down in order to make those repairs, which at this point in time, the bridge's traffic...
Looks like that's almost $300,000 today. Yikes.
Inflation, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I find out inflation is real, is when we do the comparisons between dollar amounts then and now.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, at this point, like, most of the British traffic was like, I think it was saying like 2,000 to 4,000 vehicles a day, and 20% of those being trucks, like trucks that are transporting like things for trades and goods and all that. But after that, another 2 inspections would actually be completed in 1967, and the last one being a visit from the Commission's area maintenance on December the 6th of 1967. And now we have arrived at December 15th, 1967 at approximately 5 p.m., the Silver Bridge fell in just under 60 seconds, with 90% of the bridge being submerged underwater.
Yikes.
46
Terrifying.
people. It's awful. 46.
I've seen, like, I think there's the movie Mothman Prophecy.
Yeah.
What's called?
Yes. Mothman
Like,
Prophecy.
it does a really good job of like showing the bridge collapse.
Yes. Yes.
It's pretty terrifying.
It's
like,
awful.
you got to think about like a bridge collapsing. Like, it's not just like everything drops in the water. It's like, no, you plummet in the water, and then the bridge comes down.
Yep.
And it's all this stuff. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Now, it took them a while to find. Like, don't they still? They never did fully recover like everyone, right?
No. There were 46 people that would lose their lives that day. 44 bodies would be recovered, and 2 of them would never be found. A total of 32 cars would be submerged into the Ohio River to never come out. So they're still down there, which is terrifying to think about. And it kind of makes me want to go diving down there. I'm terrified of diving, by the way. I'll watch a diving documentary on that. But there's just, because we're huge Mothman fans here in my house, and I have actually worn like Mothman t-shirts like out and around town. I'm a very approachable person, apparently. And people will come up to me and be like, my family was on the bridge that day. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then I'm like, oh, wait. Probably shouldn't have said, oh, cool. But okay, I'm sorry. But there was actually one survivor. From what I could gather, there were 21 survivors of the bridge collapse that day. And one of them did come out and tell her story. And she stated that she was actually at the entrance of the bridge. So on the very edge between where the land ended and the bridge began, her car was on the bridge. But when she backed up, she was back on the land. So she said that she heard a sound that she could not even begin to describe again. However, others would describe it as a gunshot or sounded like folding a deck of cards, which I would imagine would be like the chains busting.
Yeah.
And God, awful.
Fine.
So when she heard this sound, she put her car in reverse, backed off the bridge, and within 1 minute, the front of her car was now facing where the Silver Bridge stood. Like, could you even imagine? Like, just like, because that happens within a minute. Like, the Silver Bridge collapsed within 60 seconds.
Yeah, wild.
It's so crazy to me.
1 minute you're there, next you're gone.
And the next you're gone. And even for this woman, she like that would be just such a moment of what even is life right now. Like, I could have died within
That's gotta be
minute.
A crazy feeling. Like,
oh my gosh.
you ever heard like survivor's guilt?
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I didn't even factor in survivor's guilt for that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is nuts. So the people of Point Pleasant were shocked, devastated, grieving all of the hard emotions. But one local did say that no one in the town wanted to talk about the Mothman after the collapse. And there were no sightings of the creature after the collapse either. It was rumored, and I say that it was rumored because I did look. I really did look, and I could not find the original source. But it was rumored that Mothman was actually seen flying over the bridge as it was collapsing.
Yeah, that's always been something people have kind of whispered about, is that the Mothman was there on the bridge, or over it.
I really wanted to find that original source. I really, really did, because I wanted to know who said it, where it came from, where were you looking? Were you looking from the West Virginia side or the Ohio side? Like, I wanted to know, and I could not find it. So if one of you in the lovely comment section is able to find it, please leave the link. I will love you. I will send you a cookie that is individually wrapped and not touched by my hands because COVID.
The hunt is on.
The hunt is on now. So ultimately, a lot of people wanted to know why this bridge collapsed, because like I said, nobody wanted to talk about Mothman after this had happened. Everyone just wanted like legitimate answers.
Well, yeah, it's kind of slap in the face. You think about it though, like this tragedy's happened. People are like, "Oh, a monster did it." That's kind of.
I'd be mad. I would be mad.
You don't want to hear that. Like,
I'd be mad.
My family, my husband's dead, and like, oh, it was a Mothman.
Right. And like this was happening as like people were coming home from work. Like the woman whose car was like at the front of it, she said she was on her way home from work. So could you imagine getting like a phone call from like your spouse saying, "Honey, yeah, I'm on my way home. Put like a pot roast on the stove. I'll be there in a jiff." And they never come home. I'm like, oh my God. I know that still happens today, but I still cannot wrap my head around it. So ultimately, it would be determined that the bridge fell because of intense stress and pressure can relate, as well as corrosion that happened over time. With that mixed together, it really brought into question the integrity of the structure, that of the structure of its sister bridge, the High Carpenter Bridge, which would ultimately face closures and strict inspections afterward. And the court of public opinion really was not going to allow that bridge to reopen after that. So it did end up being closed.
Like permanently?
I do believe so, yes.
Oh, wow.
So the people who actually traveled the Silver Bridge actually did state that they could feel the bridge move beneath them. Like they could feel it like sway underneath their cars or underneath their foot.
Wow.
Which, no.
No.
No. I would never get on that bridge again.
No.
Never in my life. Like I already hate bridges.
Not by any means, no.
No, I don't care if they're like, "Bailey, that is the path to safety. You are going to be safe there. I'll swim."
Yeah.
No. So, and like, it was kind of just like the town thing of like the town tale that this bridge would eventually fall one day. But no one actually believed that it would until the day that it did. And after that, the town did rebuild. They did not rebuild the Silver Bridge, but another bridge was built in its stead. They really capitalized on Mothman. And the town of Point Pleasant now holds the annual Mothman Festival. There was also a Mothman Museum opened. And when I looked up to find out when the Mothman Museum did open, I found out that they are actually opening and hopefully have opened at this point the Mothman Escape Room.
Oh, wow.
I want to freaking go. I want to go really bad. Yeah, it's called the Mothman 66 Escape Room. It's under construction as of this recording, but hopefully it'll be open by the time this recording comes out. And they have made all kinds of merch from Mothman as well.
I know. We need to make a trip on there. I'm serious. We need to like put that together.
I want to do it.
I'd be down for that. Evan's never been.
Oh my gosh. After we get done
Yeah.
with this recording, we're going to start planning.
Definitely.
I know, because I want to go back. There was so much that because we went when the museum was like 30 minutes away from closing. So, and you know, when people are getting ready to close on a Saturday, you're like, okay, time to go. So we were like, okay, we got to go. So I would love to go back and get to spend hours in there.
Right.
It doesn't end there. The 2002 movie, The Mothman Prophecies, came out. It was wonderful. And in the Mothman Museum, they do have a signed manuscript or a signed script in the museum, which is awesome. They also have some costumes from the movie. Numerous books, such as The Mothman Prophecies, have come out, and merch galore. I think if you type in Mothman merch, you're going to get all kinds of items, everything, all the things. And quick word to the wise, Ty, you really need to read the Mothman Prophecies for your research, because it's very focused on like UFOs and Men in Black. And if you look up
on Audible,
it is on Audible. It is on Audible. I know, because I bought it through Audible, but it's cool. It's a good one. If you're looking for more sightings of Mothman, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did a lot of internet research. For this one. I didn't read a whole lot of books. I did get through the Mothman Prophecies and got a couple of things from there, but there's really not a whole lot about the Mothman creature in the Mothman Prophecies. It's more about the events surrounding Mothman, which is fine. But
I went ahead and I bought Mothman Prophecies. Live purchase right here on the show. Live purchase right on
Audible. Are you listening?
Audible.
Are you listening?
Funny enough, I was on the phone with Eric earlier, and we was talking about that, and we brought up the idea of getting an Audible sponsorship. So we'll see.
I would love it.
It's talking about that.
I would love it. Please give me more than 1 credit a month.
Yeah.
I just want 2 credits a month. That's all I really want.
I have a thing that happens where I'll pay for the subscription, and I'll buy a couple books. I'll forget, and then I go back on and I have 5 credits that I forgot.
I just use them all in the same day. I'm like, I want this one, I want this one, and I want this one. And then the next day, instant regret, because then I find another book that I really want. But aside from Audible, that is Mothman, the beginning, as I like to call it.
Ooh, the beginning. Beginning. So there's a possibility for more.
Yes, because Mothman has been seen in other places. Other than Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
About the Michigan Mothman as a pretty big one I've seen before.
I'm sorry, what? Because I had only heard of the Russian Mothman and the Chicago Mothman. I didn't know there was a Michigan Mothman.
Michigan Mothman? I think there's even one somewhere over in Europe. But I know Russia, but I feel like there's a Mothman somewhere else. But
yeah, we're gonna have to come back.
Yeah,
it might be undisclosed depending on how much we find, but it will definitely come back, because we're not finished with our dark, mysterious cryptid here. I think Mothman's real. I really do.
Oh, I do. I mean, I love the Mothman mythology. That's just it's so interesting, and there's so many different components to it. I mean, I didn't even know about all the the crazy behind the scene past stuff with Chief Cornstalk. I never knew about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they actually do it as a holiday pageant. I don't know when.
Kind of like Tecumseh.
Yeah.
Where we're from.
Yeah, they did find like the original script and everything. I do believe, and I probably should have said this sooner, however, it gives you guys a reason to keep listening. I do believe that the curse of Chief Cornstalk was actually disproven because they found the original writing of the pageant where the curse was written. However, I haven't seen the document, so I'm not willing to say that yet. And until I see the document, I'll say Chief Cornstalk did it. For real, you moved his body twice.
Yeah, and lost a bunch of it.
And lost 80% of it. You killed him and his son. And for no reason other than you were just upset. And that's no reason to kill somebody.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. No. I mean, there's really I don't know. There's no reason to really kill somebody, but not just because you're mad. Have some gumption. That's really cool. That's really cool.
I found it to be very interesting, and I think that was a great way to kick off Cultober for us here at Cult Talk Conspiracy.
Yeah,
it's a good one. Mothman. I mean, If you haven't been to Point Pleasant, you should definitely go, because if
Yes.
you're into this kind of stuff, it's one of those destinations. Like, you go there and you kind of immerse yourself into it, because Mothman is a part of their culture there. It's not just a a sighting, whisper about. Like, you go there and it's part of the culture of Point Pleasant.
Oh yeah, they have the statue of Mothman there is actually really cool.
Yeah.
It is shiny and silver, and one thing that Eric did point out is he does have a nice butt. I don't know why they felt the need to just make his butt that nice. I just don't. I don't know why. I don't know, because really, like, you didn't even have to go that far. But okay, the wings are really cool. It's actually like a silver and gold statue. Hopefully, we have a photo of it for some of our visual elements. But
I'm sure we can find a picture of it pretty easily.
But it's a really cool statue. It does have the red glowing eyes. And then, like I said, if you go down to down to where the docks are, where the boats and whatnot are, you can find more statues that are made in that same silver material. There is one of Chief Cornstalk. I do believe there is one of General Andrew Lewis as well. And there's a few more down there as well that I didn't get a chance to go all the way down and look at. But that's another reason we need to go back to Point Pleasant.
Like I said, I haven't been there since 2019, so I would love to go back.
It's been too long since I've last been, which was like a year ago. But
Yeah.
I love Mothman. I definitely think this is a cryptid that could definitely be real and be in our realm. If you're gonna ask me what I think he is, I don't know. Do I think he's a bad omen? Maybe. Another theory is, like, does he feed off of radiation? Does he feed off of TNT? Because he's been seen around these atomic plants and all of these, like, explosive equipment and whatnot. So
Right.
It's kind of like it's creating that same trend of, like, weird things being seen around these atomic TNT areas, and it's very strange. It really does beg the question: did we humans bring Mothman here?
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, so, like you said, it's been spotted around some very suspicious locations since then. I mean, Point Pleasant definitely at this time was a hotbed for radiation and all these different materials. So I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, honestly, but nonetheless, Mothman is just a super interesting and super mysterious creature, and it's one of those things that's kind of like part of just our culture here and our history. Being here from this Appalachia area, it's one of those Appalachian monsters, and I love Mothman. I love reading about Mothman, and there's so much that goes into it too, with the whole Silver Bridge collapse. You got Chief Cornstalk, and if you want to get really deep into it, the Men in Black play a big part into it, which we'll get into in a later episode, as we said earlier. Mothman is it's super interesting, and there's a dozen different rabbit holes you can go down when you start searching for Mothman. It just takes you to all different locations. But Mothman, luckily, is one of those monsters that's celebrated by its town. So again, if you ever have the opportunity to visit Point Pleasant, I know we'll definitely try to get back there here soon, because I'm definitely itching to get there.
Absolutely. And if you're in Point Pleasant, pick that to be your place where you buy the Mothman merch. Give back to the local economy. Go have a lunch there. Tell them you love them. Show them your support and all that.
Right.
Tell them where you heard it from, too. Tell them to go listen to Cult Talk's Conspiracy and visit us over at Cult Tech Net. We'd greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and here this month we are celebrating Cultober, our month-long Halloween celebration, where not only are you getting 2 special episodes of Cult Talk Conspiracy, we're talking about creepy stuff. We'll announce mine here at the end of this, but you're also getting an exclusive movie review on youtube.com/culttalknet every Friday this month. The special start time, which you've already seen on September 1st.
Yes.
You're getting 4 or 5 episodes of Cult of Campbell, which is returned after its summer hiatus. You are getting 2 special episodes of Cult of Lore that are Halloween themed. And you're getting a Halloween special watch along where the whole Cult Talk Net crew will be watching Beetlejuice. It's a good month. Cultober is fun.
I always look forward to Cultober in our schedule. It's a big party. It's a lot of work for us to do too, but it really is. It's a big party. Like, guys, we record like 2 or 3 days a week when we're planning for Cultober, but we love it. We love bringing this content to you guys. We love making the content. We have a lot of fun doing it, and we hope you have a lot of fun listening as well.
Yeah, this has been great. But here we have File 003 here on Cult Talk Conspiracy, the Legend of Mothman. The beginning, as Bailey liked to throw there at the end, because there's definitely room for more, and I'd love to dive back into Mothman. But for now, this is our episode on Mothman. Make sure you guys follow us on all of our social media at Cult Talk Net. That's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. That's where you'll find all of our content and keep up the track on what's coming and what we got planned. Next episode, File 004 of Cult Talk Conspiracy. I'm doing one that I know not many people know about. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty scary. It is the ocean at night.
I'm so scared.
You have no idea what you're in for.
I don't know.
It's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. That's all I'm going to say. I cannot wait to talk about it, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Don't look too far into it. I will say that because I want to throw all this stuff on you because it is mind-blowing.
I'm excited.
It's super interesting. And like I said, it's perfect for Cultober. It's scary as well. So that's perfect for what we're going for this month.
Wonderful.
There you guys have it. This is File 003 of Cult Talk Conspiracy. Mothman, the Legend of Mothman, the beginning. And we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let us know what you guys thought. If you have any other things you want to add, by all means, let us know on social media at Cult Talk Net. But I've been Ty.
I've been Bailey.
Until next time.
Question